What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 75 of the Idiotic Sports Talk. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, coming to you live from my dining room. And today I want to talk about the Week 5 wrap-up, the recap that happened in the NFL. Let's get to it. A lot of good action. Let's start with the Thursday night game. We have the Rams beating the Seahawks 26-17. Matt Stafford threw for 365, a touchdown and an interception. Running back Darrell Henderson had 82 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Robert Woods had 12 catches for 150 yards, and Cooper Kupp had 7 catches for 92 yards. As for quarterback Russell Wilson of the Seahawks, he had 152 passing yards, a touchdown, and interception, but unfortunately left the game with a finger fracture. He fractured his finger in the fourth quarter and will miss about 6 weeks because of that. So in comes Geno Smith. I know you guys all remember Geno Smith, the Florida Jets quarterback. He came in and threw for 131 yards passing, a touchdown, and an interception. DK Metcalf had 5 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Overall, this was a good Thursday night game involving 2 NFC West rivals. DK versus Jalen Ramsey was a good matchup. I know they had some issues in the playoffs last year. Ramsey clamped him down, but this time I guess I give the slight edge to DK in that battle. The Rams got a much-needed win against a tough division rival to improve to 4-1. With Russ injured, the Hawks now fall to 2-3, and Geno didn't look that bad. I think he could win the Seahawks a couple games with Wilson's absence. Next is the Falcons beating the Jets 27-20 in London. Matt Ryan threw for 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyle Pitts had his breakout game, 9 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown. Zach Wilson for the Jets threw for 192 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And running backs Ty Johnson and Michael Carter each scored a rushing touchdown. No Calvin Ridley or Russell Gage for Atlanta, so who stepped up? It was the rookie tight end Kyle Pitts who went off. Atlanta bounces back after a tough loss to go to 2-3, and the Jets return to their losing ways after getting a nice win in overtime versus the Titans last week as they fall to 1-4. Next is the Patriots beating the Texans 25-22. Mac Jones threw for 231 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Damian Harris had a rushing TD but also fumbled the ball. Tight end Hunter Henry had 6 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. And as for the Texans quarterback, Davis Mills, he threw for 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Chris Moore had 5 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. And Chris Conley, the former Chief, had 3 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. The Pats fought, and they fought out of a 13-point deficit to go 2-3 on the year. The Texans could have won this game if their kicker didn't miss a field goal and 2 extra points. The Texans now fall to 1-4. Next, we have the Vikings winning a close game against the Lions, 19-17. Kirk Cousins, 275 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Alexander Mattison, stepping up for the injured Dalvin Cook, had 113 rushing yards. He also had 7 catches for 40 yards, including a receiving touchdown. He also fumbled the ball as well. And Justin Jefferson had 7 catches for 124 yards. As for the Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, he had 203 passing yards, no touchdowns, an interception, and did fumble the ball. DeAndre Swift, the running back for the Lions, had 51 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, along with 6 catches for 53 yards. Usually game-winning field goals aren't in the Vikings' favor, but on Sunday, Vikings kicker Greg Joseph hit a 54-yard game-winning field goal as time expired to give the Vikings a 2-3 record. The Vikings almost choked a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter with a few minutes left, but Kirk Cousins stepped up and showed how clutch he was by getting them in that field goal position to win the game. Everyone talks about that kick by Greg Joseph, but no one was really talking about Kirk's clutchness on Sunday. The Lions played a really tough game, but sadly, they fall to 0-5. Next is the Eagles beating the Panthers 21-18. Jalen Hurts, 198 yards, no touchdowns, an interception, but had 2 rushing touchdowns. Devontae Smith, his favorite target, 7 catches for 77 yards. And Sam Darnold on the Panthers threw for 177 yards, 1 touchdown, but threw 3 interceptions. And rookie Chuba Hubbard had 101 rushing yards. My thoughts on this game were that Sam Darnold, you threw the game away. You had to just beat the Eagles, but you couldn't do that, man. You didn't have my back here. This was the Panthers. This was the Panthers' game to win, and they blew it. They blew it, and now they're 3-2. And Jalen Hurts got it done with his legs to give Philly that 2-3 record. Next is the Saints beating the Washington football team 33-22. Jameis Winston, 279 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, an interception, and fumbled. Alvin Kamara, 71 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, and he also had 51 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. Marquez Callaway was their best receiver as he had 4 catches for 85 yards and 2 scores. And Taylor Heineke for the Washington football team had 248 passing yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Antonio Gibson had 60 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns as well. Thank you, Saints, for beating the Washington football team as a Dallas fan. It's safe to say we never know what Jameis Winston we're going to get, if we're going to get the Jameis Winston who's going to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns or 4 or 5 interceptions. But on Sunday, he threw for 4 touchdowns to improve his team's record to 3-2. The Washington football team drops to 2-3. Next is the Titans beating the Jaguars 37-19. Ryan Tannehill, 197 passing yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Derrick Henry, 130 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. He had the hat trick on the day. Trevor Lawrence had 273 passing yards, a touchdown, an interception, and a rushing touchdown. James Robinson had 149 yards rushing and a touchdown as well. I feel like a broken record saying this, but Derrick Henry rushes for over 100 yards again. I feel like he always just destroys the Jaguars. I'm pretty sure last year he had like 200 rushing yards against them. And the Titans just improved to 3-2. The Jaguars are still looking for their first win as they fall to 0-5. Next is the Bucs beating up the Dolphins 45-17. Tom Brady with a crazy good game, 411 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Antonio Brown, 7 catches, 124 yards and 2 scores. Mike Evans, 6 catches, 116 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. As for Jacoby Brissett on the Dolphins, 275 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. Myles Gaskin, the running back, had a good game. He had 10 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Tom Brady proves why he isn't human yet again. This guy is supposed to be in his 40s, but he's thrown for 400 plus and 5 touchdowns against the Dolphins like he's back in New England. Antonio Brown had a great game. He looked like he was still on the Steelers as the Bucs improved to 4-1, and the Finns dropped to 1-4 as they lost their 4th straight game. Next is the Packers beating the Bengals in an OT thriller. Rodgers threw for 344 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Aaron Jones rushed for 103 yards. And Devontae Adams putting up a Randy Moss stat line. 11 catches, 206 yards and a touchdown. Joe Burrow for the Bengals had 281 passing yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And the rookie Jamar Chase continues to impress. 6 catches for $159 and a touchdown. This game was absolutely wild. The kickers, Mason Crosby and Evan McPherson, combined for a total of 5 missed field goals. I can't imagine the anxiety levels of each team, what they were going through as they watched, their team consistently miss field goals. I could relate to the anxiety level because I'm a Cowboys fan, and they give me anxiety almost every week. But anyway, the Packers improved to 4-1 as the Bengals fall to 3-2. The Steelers beat the Broncos 27-19. Big Ben had his best game of his season so far. 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. No interceptions, and a fumble. Najee Harris, the rookie, continues to impress with 122 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Chase Claypool had 5 catches for $130 and a touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater threw for 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And Cortland Sutton had 7 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown. Big Ben finally had a good game, and that improves the Steelers' record to 2-3. The Broncos had a little comeback in them, but it was a little too late. Teddy Bridgewater finally threw his first interception of the season as the Broncos are now 3-2. Next is the Bears getting the upset over the Raiders, 20-9. Justin Fields, he threw for 111 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. Damian Williams was their main offensive weapon with 64 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. As Derek Carr, he threw for 206 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And Josh Jacobs had a rushing touchdown for the Raiders as well. The Bears get the upset. They improved to 3-2. Justin Fields played a solid game. The Raiders lost their second straight to fall to 3-2. And yesterday, on Monday, John Gruden resigns after his homophobic and racial emails are exposed. So we'll see how the Raiders can handle this moving forward. Next is the Chargers beating the Browns 47-42. Justin Herbert, 398, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. Austin Eckler, 66 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 catches for 53 yards, and a receiving touchdown, and fumbled the ball. Mike Williams had 8 catches for $165 and 2 scores. As for the Browns, Baker Mayfield threw for 305, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Nick Chubb had 161 rushing yards and a touchdown to go with that. Kareem Hunt had 61 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And the tight end, David Njoku, with a good game. 7 catches, $149, and a touchdown. This game was absolutely amazing. There was no defense being played whatsoever. This was just the definition of a classic shootout. Both teams combined for over 1,000 yards of total offense. But sadly, the Browns became the first team in NFL history to score 40 or more points with no turnovers and still lose. They fall to 3-2 on the year as the Chargers improve to 4-1. And Justin Herbert, man, he's just fun to watch. He's definitely a defense's worst nightmare when you got to face that guy. Next is my Dallas Cowboys beating up the Giants 44-20. Dak Prescott, 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, intercepted and fumbled. Zeke Elliott had 110 rushing yards and a touchdown. He also had a receiving touchdown as well. CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches, 84 yards and a touchdown. And Amari Cooper had a touchdown reception as well. Daniel Jones had 98 passing yards, no touchdown and an interception, but left the game with a concussion. So in comes Mike Glennon, who threw for 196 passing yards, a touchdown, but also threw 2 interceptions. Saquon Barkley left with a nasty ankle injury. So his replacement, Devontae Booker, stepped up. He had a rushing and receiving touchdown. And the rookie Kadarius Toney had 10 catches for $189. So how about them Cowboys? Dak and Zeke go off for them. The Cowboys win their 4th straight win to improve to 4-1 and take first place of the NFC East. Dak, the run game of Zeke and Pollard, and the defense was all on point. All 3 of those aspects of the game have been stepping up big lately for the Cowboys. And unfortunately for Giants fans, they lose their starting quarterback and running back to fall to 1-4. Speedy recovery for Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Next is the Cardinals beating the Niners 17-10. Kyler Murray, 239 passing yards, a touchdown and no interceptions. DeAndre Hopkins had 6 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. And James Conner scores another rushing touchdown. Seems like he found a home in Arizona. As for the rookie Trey Lance making his first start for the Niners, he threw for 192 passing yards, no passing touchdowns, an interception, and 89 rushing yards. Deebo Samuel was their main offensive weapon with 3 receptions, 58 yards, and scored a rushing touchdown. This was a tough win for the Cardinals, but a win is a win as they improve their record to 5-0. They're the only undefeated team in the league right now. And Trey Lance made his first start as QB for the Niners, and I have to say, if he wants a long career in the NFL, he needs to work on his accuracy, and he needs to learn how to slide when he runs the ball because he took way too unnecessary hits on Sunday against the Cardinals. The Niners now lost 3 straight, and they fall to 2-3. Next is the Bills beating the Chiefs 38-20. Josh Allen, 315 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also had 59 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Dawson Knox, the tight end, 3 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. And Emmanuel Sanders with a pretty good game, 3 catches for 54 yards and 2 scores. Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs, 272 passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions and fumbled the ball. McCole Hardman had 9 catches for 76 yards, and tight end Travis Kelce had 5 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown. The Bills, they just marched right into Arrowhead Stadium and steamrolled the Chiefs to get their 4th straight win and improve their record to 4-1. Josh Allen's definitely in that MVP conversation, and the Bills' defense deserves a lot more recognition. They made a game-changing pick 6 against Patrick Mahomes. And as for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they need to figure it out. Their defense is just awful. Their O-line and run game is non-existent. And Mahomes really can't do it all. The Chiefs fall to 2-3, which is what everyone predicted this season, right? That they'd be 2-3 in the first 5 weeks of the season. As for the Monday Night Football game, the final game, we have a thriller. We have the Ravens beating the Colts in overtime. Lamar Jackson threw for 442 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, but did fumble the ball. Mark Andrews, his tight end, had a monster game, 11 catches for $147 and 2 scores. Hollywood Brown had 9 catches for 125 and 2 scores also. And Carson Wentz for the Colts, he threw for 402 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but did fumble the ball. And Jonathan Taylor, the running back, had 53 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, and he also had 3 catches for 116 yards and a receiving touchdown. And Michael Pittman Jr. had 6 catches for 89 yards and a score as well. This game was absolutely bonkers. The Ravens were down 16 in the 4th quarter when Lamar put the team on his back and got the job done and scored 16 unanswered points to tie the game and send it into overtime. And this is the 2nd week that Lamar has got it done with his passing and not his legs. Lamar's passing is getting better each and every week. The Ravens have now won 4 straight games, and their record is now 4-1. And it's a shame because Carson Wentz and the Colts played such a great game, so it sucks to see them lose in a heartbreaking fashion. The Colts now drop to 1-4. So thank you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you like and share my videos. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.